All right, I'm back here on the Olympic Coaching Podcast today with Matt Donovan. Thanks for joining me, Matt.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Dude, so today, as a nutritionist, we're both nutritionists, so nutrition coaches, and we get questions a lot about people always want the simple, the easy stuff, but we tend as humans, really, we tend to make things really complicated. We'll overthink things. Um, and it's easy for me to want to just give a few simple tips and be like, all right, go for it. But people really do need coaching. But what if we do a little bit of coaching on the podcast today? Like, how can we make nutrition a little bit simpler for our listeners today?
Yeah, something that I think is super important, and you probably heard this before, a lot of you, but for me, I know that if something is like a temptation, if it's a sweet or something that I really enjoy eating, that I probably should have maybe a little less of that um, as a part of my day to day. But it's around or it's sitting out in the house. It's like, oh man, it's right there. I could just have a little bit. Like, oh, I could just have a little bit of this right now. It's still looking at me right there. And so I think just my first tip that I would say is if you're trying to avoid certain foods or limit them, then either have them out of sight, out of mind, or just don't even get them in your house. Like it just makes it a way easier. Even like some of the most disciplined people in the world. So people that have to make a certain weight for their job. Think of like UFC fighters or um, Olympic weightlifters or people like that. Um, it's not that they're necessarily uber disciplined, which they are, but they also just don't even allow themselves to be around some of those foods that they're trying to avoid. They just take them out so that they don't even have to deal with the struggle of temptation of that food.
Yeah, dude, that's a super great tip. I mean, what a first tip to start with. Like, if it's not going to help you move the needle forward and progress where you want to be or maintaining who you are, like, don't even keep it in your house. So
Mhm.
if it's a food that's a temptation food for you, that is not good for you, then, not keeping it in your house, making it hard to get
Mhm.
is going to really significantly decrease your chances of binging on that or having a lot of that on a regular basis. So Dr. John Berardi always says, like, if it's in your house, you or someone else that you care about is going to eat it eventually. So
Absolutely.
it's absolutely true. Like, if it's there, it will get eaten. So I even have a friend who, he's a little bit shorter in stature. If his wife wants to buy a treat, he actually asked her to put it on like the very top cupboard, like a little bit out of sight. Because the one that makes, he physically can't reach it very easily. And then two, it's a little bit out of sight, so he doesn't even think about it most of the time. So, whatever it takes for you, putting it a little bit out of reach can be really helpful for us to, not have those treats very often. They're not wrong to have occasionally, but if you just keep them around your house, you're more likely to have them a lot more.
Hmm.
That's a good tip. Um, I think there's also just like some basics of, basic nutrition of one of the most foundational habits that I'll coach clients is just to eat slowly till you're satisfied. And so, like, by eating slowly till you're satisfied, that means like you eat slowly enough to feel when your body's actually not hungry anymore. So satisfied is like the opposite of being hungry. So fullness is different than being satisfied. Like, if I'm really full, I'm like, holy cow, I'm full. But if I'm satisfied, that means that like I just don't feel hungry anymore. I've had enough to make the hunger sensation go away. And so, and that doesn't, if I eat too fast, I'm not going to be able to perceive that. I'm not going to be able to feel that. And so that's a super foundational habit of like, let's just remove distractions. Let's be present with what we're eating, whatever you eat. If even with weight loss clients, like, don't change before you even change a single thing of what they eat, or encourage them to work through that. We'll work on eating slowly until they're satisfied. Like, you can eat whatever you want as long as you're eating till just you're satisfied. So that helps prevent overeating. So you end up not eating too much. And that can be hard with certain foods because, you hit the bottom of the bag, you're like, whoops. But ultimately, like overall, just practicing eating slowly to being satisfied is going to help us be in better shape overall, not get too much food at any one sitting.
Right. I think you mentioned before that people should eat till they're like satisfied, like 8 out of 10,
Yeah.
like on a fullness thing, right? Okay. And one practical follow-up to that. So how long should people eat for? How long does it take for them to kind of feel their like fullness cues, or like their body tell them that they're full? How long should they like expect that to take?
Oh man. It can take anywhere between 10 to 20 minutes for your body to actually, like, your stomach has to break down stuff. So depending on what you eat, you might hit you sooner. But your stomach has to break down the food that you're eating a little bit and start releasing it into your small intestine before you actually get a hormone that says, hey, I'm full. You don't eat anymore. So if you eat incredibly fast, you eat your whole meal in 5 minutes or less, there's no time for that hormone to signal to your brain, like, stop. And so by taking 10 to 20 minutes to eat, which is super hard for some people, I remember myself, like back in whenever I was a teenager and I'm playing sports and I was on a time crunch for lunch, I would go home and literally eat 2 half-pound burgers. So I ate a whole pound of beef, in one sitting. So, and then I go back and fall asleep in my next class after lunch, because it just hit me all of a sudden. I'm like, okay, I'm tired, need a nap. But wasn't the best for me. Thankfully, I had the exercise to help me cope with that. But I'll have to say, 10, 20 minutes is going to help your digestion. It's going to help you understand your fullness a lot better.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah. What other things do you think could make it simple, a little bit simpler for people?
Yeah, I think one idea that's helped me is just identifying the low-hanging fruit, something that's really easy for you to do. And so this one isn't necessarily like a specific idea, but I think it should be individual to everybody. So one thing that was super easy for me to change was instead of having a bunch of creamer or sugar in coffee or anything like that when I wake up in the morning, now I make a pour over. And so it's just black coffee. For me, that wasn't a huge change. I still enjoy drinking my coffee. Um, but that was something that, with just a couple extra minutes, heating up water and making the coffee, it was something that I could have a huge impact just nutritionally without being able to cut out some of that. For me, is unneeded creamer, unneeded sugars, things like that. And so I'd say just identify something that's super easy for you, something that you can do every single day. And in the long run, stuff like that is going to have a big impact for you.
Dude, that's a super great point. Just like finding low hanging fruit, like that can be something that gets you jump started on making progress from where you are right now. Nutritionally, especially like you said, like you could be drinking calories you're not even aware of. And that might take, for someone, like identifying some of that low hanging fruit might mean you need to like take pictures of what you eat and drink all day, or write it down or use an app of some sort to record everything, just to identify like where is it coming from, you know and am I super snacky in the middle of the afternoon, or am I having did I start having a late night snack that got a little bit more calorie dense over time, or am I getting am I having the fancy uh candy coffee, basically, lots of cream and sugar and whipped cream on top, am I getting a lot of calories from my beverages, all that? So that's a great point. Find that low hanging fruit and see if you can manage that or decrease it. Even if you're not totally eliminating it yet, if you can decrease that, it can really make a big impact.
Right. Yeah. Even just if you have to start with 1 day a week or something like that for whatever you're trying to change, just um, anything you can do to get yourself started, head the right direction is awesome.
Yeah. I like that you said like using the pour over. Like I love coffee. Like I totally agree with you there. Like I used to drink like copious amounts of coffee, way too much. But I even switched to the pour over myself, and that kind of made me like really start to really love black coffee a lot more than I already did, because it just brings out the flavors a lot more. But also it takes effort to make a pour over, so I end up drinking less coffee overall.
Mhm.
So that's good stuff. I think another tip that I would give is just like to make it simple is really kind of plate stuff in order of priority. Like, so protein is something that we all need for like really good high function, to be healthy hormonally, to be recovering well, to be performing well, and to be feeling our best. Even if we're having too low protein, we can even have low energy and everything. So I like to think of like put my protein on my plate first, whatever that is, and then put the, learning a little bit about different macronutrients, your protein, your carbohydrates, and your fats. And then I even consider vegetables as like a separate thing, because they're so high in water content, they don't really count calories wise, they're not a macronutrient. And so I'll put the protein on first, I'll put the veggies on second, and then whatever I have, the fats might be mixed in, or I'll put a carbohydrate on last. And I'll actually eat the carbohydrates, save a little bit of those for last. So if I get satisfied enough and full enough, then carbohydrates, the only thing that I leave on my plate. I try to eat the protein and the veggies, make sure I get those. And so if I'm too full to have the rest, then don't worry about it. And I think that's an important thing to like consider, like, okay, I'm going to work on portions. If I need help with that a little bit, I'm going to put those on my plate, try to get a little bit of every macronutrient on my plate, and then try to improve that over time.
Right. Yeah, that makes total sense. I think a lot of people when they get their food, they, maybe they're trying to eat healthier, they're trying to do all these things, and then once once they actually get their plate and sit down wherever they're eating, they kind of just forget all about that, like the process is still going on, right? So whether that's eating slowly like you mentioned, or whether that's like prioritizing the foods that you're eating, and if you are going to leave something, what is it, and all like that. So yeah, I think that's a good point to remember, that it's not just the preparation of your food, but also like even while you're eating, there's this process is still going on of trying to get healthier. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And I feel like the last tip that I would give would be try to have more minimally processed foods than highly processed foods. And eventually working towards vast majority of the food you have is like very minimal processing. So like you might say like have more single ingredient foods than you have multiple ingredient foods. And that's just kind of getting at the heart of like, know what's going into your food. If you put together that dish, everything that goes into it, then all the ingredients, it's great. If you buy something from a fast food place or from the grocery store that's got this long list of ingredients with really long, crazy names you can't even pronounce, then that's pretty processed. So working on getting more of the whole foods, that's ultimately better for your digestion, for your gut, and your microbiome. It's better for being fuller for longer, and you're going to look and feel better ultimately down the road too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you experienced that yourself also? Like if, how you feel compared to when you have more whole foods compared to whenever you have more like really highly processed foods?
I have, yeah, I really do just feel like I have more energy. Like my workouts in the gym are noticeably different. Um, and just overall, you just feel better. You feel like, you feel like you can conquer the world sometimes, if you're eating healthy and killing your workouts. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Uh,
Do you have any other quick tips to wrap this up?
yeah, the last thing I would say is if nutrition and coaching is something that you think would benefit you, then you should definitely check out linfit.com and get in contact with Caleb, because his coaching is awesome, and he really knows what he's talking about. He knows how to help people and has helped a ton of people already. So if that's something you're interested in, you should go to linfit.com and check out his coaching for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's something that even Matt helps with a lot of what Olympic Coaching does with the content that we create, and he's a nutrition coach himself. And so if nutrition just seems like something that's just out of your reach, out of your control, or even that you want to try to improve your exercise and your movement, that's something we do that we're super passionate about at Olympic Coaching. So if this is something that you want some help, some accountability, some coaching in to better yourself and find the strategies that really help you to have your own autonomy to know what to do for yourself, that's what we do. And so give us a shout at linfit.com, or you can find me on Instagram at caleb.linfit. So yeah, this is great. I mean, some simple tips. Sometimes it seems a little bit too complicated for some, but if you really get down to it, it's not overly complicated. Try to keep it simple, stupid is what I always say. So keep it simple for yourself today, and have a good rest of your day, guys.